This now brings us to item 16D, which is an action item for volunteer code of conduct. As you've heard tonight, we've had some retreats with our council. I want to just give some background, and then we'll put it on the table for a council discussion. The background is we've been talking about ground rules, how we play in the sandbox, so to speak, with each other on the council and the mayor. Those same discussions have been going on with the staff level, and then at one point, then we'll be at the planning agency, and then we'll be at the park agency. So it's only a natural progression that we now talk about our volunteers that volunteer on committees, so that we're all talking about these ground rules. So more than anything, this is nurturing an environmental and organizational culture on just how we respect and just normal ground rules. And I'm going to ask Ms. Kerslake to share with us how this is handled in other jurisdictions.
Sorry, Mr. McDonald was diverting my attention. Yes, this is common in several of the cities that I represent. It's something that volunteer committee members sign. It just puts everybody on notice that they're held to the same standard as other committees within the city, and it gives the opportunity to give a gentle reminder to folks what the ground rules are.
Is there a motion to put this item on the table for further discussion with council? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to put this on the table for discussion.
All right. Is there a motion made by Councilmember Coffey? Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any other comments or questions on this volunteer code of conduct before we implement it with all of our committees? Yes, Councilmember Trotter.
I have a question. What falls under the classification of a volunteer committee? Granted, we get our $300 a month, but are we considered a volunteer committee? Is the planning agency a volunteer committee? Is the parks agency a volunteer committee? The visitor readiness task force, the fire task force, the group that plants the Easter eggs for the Easter egg hunt, who all is now covered by this?
That's a great comment. Ms. Kerslake?
The intention was to cover all committees, both council committees and mayoral committees as well. It would not involve the council because you're an elected body, and that's the distinction, is elected versus appointed and/or volunteer.
Is that, Councilmember Trotter, does that address your question anymore?
So every time we have a committee to do, like, say, the 4th of July and all the other events that our Parks and Recreation Department puts on, they'll all be signing this agreement?
Yes, that's the intent, just so that we're all on the same page of ground rules.
Okay.
And treating each other with respect and trust. Yes, Councilmember Wilcox.
Yeah, who has authorization once again to say, hey, you violated one of those rules, so you're out? I mean, what happens? What's the procedure on that?
Well, I have to happily report that none of the clients that I have ever had to remove anybody based on these rules. But in general, how it would work is the majority of that committee would bring it to that person's attention and take a vote to ask the committee member to remove.
Just like you do in Congress, then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Westman.
Madam Mayor, I'm really concerned about codes of conduct for volunteers. I can understand an overall policy statement having to do with volunteerism. It makes me nervous when we ask volunteers to certify that they're going to behave in a particular way. It kind of reminds me of my first years of teaching back in the 60s when I had to sign a loyalty oath that I would not be teaching communism and so on in the public schools. Good old Senator Joe McCarthy was concerned that we had subversive activities. I'm very uncomfortable that we are trying to legislate behavior, and the behavior that you have listed here is common sense. It's professional behavior that we would expect of anyone. And if there's some difficulty with an individual or individuals, then to me it is responsibility of the administration, the mayor, to talk with that individual in order to curb any sort of behavior which is not appropriate. I just don't think it is legislative in nature. I don't think it's our job as city municipal legislators to deal in this particular area. If it's, to me, this is an executive issue. It is not legislative, and perhaps we could get some other samples of policy statements from some of the other cities that the lawyer has indicated. As it's written right here, unfortunately, I cannot support it. And it is something that it's a spur-of-the-moment type thing put into our packet last Friday, and I just don't think that this is something that we wish to go on record at this particular legislative level to tell our volunteers that they have to pledge or sign or take this particular position, and if you don't behave in a particular way, you're subject to be fired as a volunteer. It's just, to me, it's just not appropriate. It's my point of view.
Thank you, thank you. And that's an excellent point about getting examples for other jurisdictions. That's exactly what we did. Exactly.